Lovely. Just a second, I'm just going to set up my screen. Let me know when you can see everything. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so tonight was about marketing, and one of the things that we wanted to really focus on was the fact that the scope of how we market to customers and how we explore trends of customers can change during a recession. But not only that, we've seen like a massive change in terms of what is taking place on social media and how businesses are choosing to engage with customers throughout the pandemic. So tonight, I'll just be touching on how we can identify the habits and trends of consumers during economic downturns, and also trends that form for disruption. So you probably saw this page when you started, when I started, which is this lovely graphic of a pregnant lady. And I really believe that recession is actually what births market disruption and new normals, in quote. Now, the reason this is because many a times what you will see, if you go back and observe at least the last 2 recessions that have taken place, you'll observe that there's a massive growth in innovation, 1, in terms of how people meet the needs of customers. 2, there's a massive growth in the way in which we solve problems, often established by tech and the development of tech. And 3, you see massive changes in what consumers like. So, you know, a good example is expensive goods, and how people all of a sudden, when they realize they've got less money to spend and less money to that's an expendable income, their consumer habits change. So ultimately, innovation that disrupts is established by markets, and it also displaces previous businesses. I think some of the key things that one has to consider when it comes to the trends of disruption, and also whether you will be able to disrupt a market, is what you have to offer. Ian touched on this on Tuesday about your USP and that uniqueness of what your business has to offer. Secondly, do people still want what you have to offer? And thirdly, is there an underserved group of people you can cater to, a niche? And there's this quote that everybody can fish, it's how you fish that will determine how many fish you catch. And this is true, because if you are to be fishing on a lake and you use a normal fishing a normal fishing net, you can catch lots of fish. But if you use, I forgot what it's called now, if you use a fishing rod, yes, if you use a fishing rod, you might catch less fish, and how frequently or how quickly you catch fish is different. So recessions ultimately are driven by consumer spend. So businesses fluctuate because people change what they're interested in or what they're interested in investing in. So Neil Patel is a marketer and entrepreneur, and he said some very interesting things at the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak around March time. He spoke about 3 key things: momentum, content, and not being short-sighted when it comes to interruption in markets. And he is a marketer. Most of his business is run by helping other businesses market their businesses. And he he identified 3 trends, which I'll go through. And the first trend is that survival goods increase. So the things that meet consumers' needs, that help them survive, things like right now, gloves and face masks, things that would increase people's comfort during this time, increase. So you will probably see that obviously right now, in a few years when they write reports about what actually happened in the economy around this time, you'll see that major increase in food because it's helping people feel better. People are panic buying. But at the same time, things like clothes, not really seen as an essential anymore, even though you do need clothes. Massive change in how people see these kind of goods. So luxury goods, again, he explained how there's a massive depletion in people's investment for luxury goods. And this is because people are not being short-sighted. I think that majority of us naturally, like as consumers, we can be a bit short-sighted. We're thinking about what's comfortable, what we enjoy. I was having a conversation with my sister and she was saying, I mean, like, this is someone who buys from ASOS like every week. And she was like, I don't really need to buy anything because I'm not going anywhere. But ultimately, it's just her mindset has changed. She's no longer being short-sighted about, oh, I can just buy this because I can. She's thinking about, oh, I might need to stretch this money longer. And thirdly, he talked about the value your business brings. And the reason I've got this heartbeat shaped line is because it can go either way. And it depends on what value you're bringing to your customer. Ultimately, an opportunity to gain market share is very available right now. And he argues that it's very important for us to not feel afraid to tell people about what problem we're solving. And in other words, this is an opportunity to strike and gain market share. I attended a Facebook ad seminar 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that was pointed out was the fact that right now, Facebook ads operate as an auction site or an auction place. So it means that many people are basically paying for space on Facebook to be able to market to consumers. And one of the things that he identified, which was quite major, was a lot of businesses are reducing their marketing spend. So there's now actually more space, more opportunity to capitalize off of the space that is being created because less people are spending in marketing, which means that it's an opportunity for smaller businesses, independent businesses to peek through the gaps and actually capitalize during times of obscurity, you could argue. And he argues, in other words, that when we see competitors closing down or slowing down on their marketing, the goal is to double down as well. And you may not see it as a massive impact immediately, but actually what that does is position us. And he, for example, bought a website called Kissmetrics. I don't know if any of you know about it. But Kissmetrics is a marketing website that helps you measure metrics of your website and other businesses that you consider competitors. And he bought out that business for $500,000. Now, what he identified immediately was that, you know, the money that he had at hand to spend on budgets and things like that depleted incredibly. However, with it under a year, he was able to see an increase in his lead generation by 19%, and he was able to make back the money that he spent on this other platform. Now that's an example of how you might actually want to capitalize and actually increase your market share by investing in times of recession or times that are obscure, because ultimately when everybody else is withdrawing, that's actually not the opportunity to withdraw, to retreat as well. It's an opportunity to further explore what you can do to bring value to your customer. Another way it's put is by Warren Buffett. He says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Now, obviously, not everybody is a fan of being greedy, and people are quite weary of doing that. But Warren Buffett is an investor, and for years, people have literally built business plans based on how he predicts a market will go. So when we're talking about the trends of interruption, actually, one of the major trends is that when businesses are withdrawing, especially in the area of marketing, when businesses are reducing their market spend or reducing how they are trying to meet the needs of their customer, that's an opportunity for our smaller businesses and startups to step in and actually take advantage of that. There's space for everyone. So this is open to everyone. What have you noticed during this season when it comes to social media and digital platforms? This is an open question, so feedback from anyone really.
So what I've noticed with a lot of with a digital platform like TikTok is that there's a lot more engagement with that, because a lot more people have more time in their hands. So you know, even this Don't Rush challenge, a lot of people have been engaging with that. And also, yeah, more people are online because obviously there's less things to do in terms of less schedules. So actually now is the best opportunity for businesses to make sure that they are being present online. So yeah, that's what I've noticed.
Completely. And anyone else? Anything different? We all on the same page?
Yeah, I'd just like to add with regards to Facebook. So I'm on Facebook as marketer, and when you mentioned Laulu, correct me if I'm wrong, the expert that you were referring to who said that at this time, because there is a lot more people on Facebook, that means that Facebook have more ad inventory, so more ad space. And when big companies are withdrawing and reducing their budget, did I hear correctly that the experts stated that small businesses should follow suit because big companies are reducing their budget?
No, he advised that small businesses can actually capitalize off of the space that big businesses aren't using it.
Yes, I would like to agree wholeheartedly with that, because I run Facebook ads in my own business as well as for my clients. And what we have been noticing is that, yes, there is more ad space. The bigger companies are reducing their budgets. And as a result, our results that we are getting from Facebook ads has reduced. So the cost per lead or the cost per sale has reduced drastically. So for example, before COVID-19, or before the pandemic, we were seeing like lead cost at about maybe £2 or £1.50, but that has since reduced to maybe less than £1. So we are getting a lot more leads for our money and a lot more sales for our money. So it's definitely a time to capitalize, especially small businesses. So you should be running ads as well.
Exactly that. And I think you guys have pointed out those things, especially from the point of view of Facebook ads and Instagram. But even looking at TikTok is becoming a massive platform for engagement for businesses. And so what you've seen is a lot of businesses who wouldn't normally engage with a platform like TikTok moving over there because they're trying to attract and engage with customers, especially now that they know that the sales funnel or the sales cycle that people go through is a lot slower. People might be a bit more timid towards investing in services. And especially with YouTube, can I just say that ads every single second? I don't know if you've tried watching a video in the last 3 weeks, but everywhere there is an ad. And again, it's the same principle as Facebook. People are buying up that space because it's available and it's a lot cheaper than it would normally be. So it's definitely an opportunity to catch some fish, in essence. So one of the things that I wanted to draw attention to was the sales funnel that most businesses would go through. And what I did was I split it into 3 sections. If any of you know the ADA principle, which is just basically how your marketing funnel narrows down to a sale or monetization. So it starts with awareness, and ultimately you could argue that awareness is where your PR, your radio, your podcast, that is where you can generate leads, lead generation that would take someone to somewhere else. So, you know, you offer value, or you offer something that is maybe free or not too expensive, so that people would now be more interested in following the trail, the rabbit trail, and exploring your brand and what it is that you have to offer. And the next stage, I would say, is a lead nurturing phase, where people express interest and desire, and might even action, like take the decision to buy from you or from a monetized service. And what you see is that a lot of lead nurturing is taking place right now, because many businesses have observed that customers are panicked, customers are concerned, especially during a time like this. And to be honest, what's taking place right now is almost emulates the beginning of a recession period, where people aren't really sure about their position. Things seem quite obscure, so they're not confident. And so you're less likely to just buy random stuff on the internet. You're going to think twice. And so this is where it drives the point for ultimately content and content marketing, and making sure that you can add value in that sort of way. And then thirdly, loyalty and advocacy, which I call the sale and repeat level. And I believe that that's because once you have established that relationship where someone's explored your brand or business, and they've now actioned that point, the lead nurturing should actually lead to repeat customers, repeat level, unless it's a one-off thing like selling hand sanitizer online. And a good example of that is a company like Gymshark, who have been able to capitalize off of using a platform like TikTok. So, you know, exercise routines and dances have been a great way of engaging with young communities and further empowering the community, the Gymshark community. So guess what? The moment they do have money, they're going to think about, where can I get my workout kit? Gymshark. Where can I buy these trainers? Where can I find a trainer to help me get fit? Gymshark. So ultimately, it's all about brand placement. So Alfred Samba, he's also, I'm using a lot of Gymshark content here. Alfred Samba is actually he's the head of social media content marketing at Gymshark. And he says these really powerful things that I think are really crucial for any business that's considering market disruption, but ultimately thinking about how they can rightly place themselves for opportunity with consumers. And he says 2 things: that at the end of the day, social media is about providing value and making an impact. And so when you focus on that, rather than debating over the background of a color, you're more able to drive impact. And I think also he says that the secret is post content, loads of content, review, and then post content that people respond to. And I think that's the idea of strategy, that most times people respond, especially consumers, respond differently. And just as Neil Patel mentioned, that a lot of people are more focused on survival goods right now. So actually, the way in which we begin to disrupt is when we focus on the pain points of someone who's trying to survive. What are the things that they're doubling down on? What are the things that they're trying to focus on. I know for the Black community, it's the absence of barbers and hairdressers, and people are going crazy out here because they've never had to go this long without something that they value a lot. And also the community aspect of these things. And I believe on the previous page that there was a quote there by Stuart Butterfield, and he's the founder of Slack. And he says that the changes of globalization and technology create opportunities and pose threats continually. So recession and marketing during a recession is ultimately a time where, you know, it can go either way, but I think rightly positioning yourself with this strategy that initiates and prompts customer engagement just by studying the needs that they have adapted to, the things that they've adapted to, can help businesses get ahead. And just wanted to point to companies who are actually doing this as physical examples. For example, Trim It, Curlbox, who have actually, even though they actually cap their sales, so they could actually shoot up way higher than they are right now. But what you're finding with a hair subscription product line, product box like Curlbox, is that people are not going to the salon, so they need to do their hair at home. And they've been able to position themselves through ads and through really great email marketing and the community itself that they've been developing. And these businesses, for example, like Curlbox, have been able to capitalize during a time like this. So even though hair products and things like that aren't considered as important, they are still things that customers need and are buying. So it's still being consumed in essence. And finally, I wanted to talk about following the North Star. So there's this concept in product development about the North Star. And the North Star is basically the marriage between your brand business vision and what you offer as valuable. I made that word up. And in exchange for someone's time or focus, which isn't necessarily monetary. And what I found, especially with Neo Enterprise as a business, what drives the behavior has actually been programs like this and other initiatives where we are encouraging the economic empowerment of our community, which ultimately link back to our vision, which is to break the cycle of poverty for Black women. So you find the two married quite closely there. When it comes to other businesses exploring what their North Star metric is and how they can ultimately bring value and still make an exchange, which isn't monetary, we have to consider things like, again, content, the platforms that your customers are on, the people that you are actually looking to sell to, and also reassessing what the needs of customers are during a recession or during this time. So for example, when you look at companies like Adobe Creative Cloud, they offered delayed payments for 2 months. And what you found is that the community benefited from this. And they're like, yeah, like we don't have to pay for this. And this is great. And what that does is further improve advocacy and loyalty. So they're keeping customers by providing that as an opportunity for people to delay payments. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Laulu. So Laulu is the marketing person here at Neo Enterprise. So it's just right for her to introduce the session. Just to remind everybody as well, this series is a 2-week series. We're doing it over 4 days. So today we're focusing more on marketing and what small business can do in regards to their marketing post-COVID if there's a recession that arises. So we have 2 speakers, amazing people joining us today. We have Dawn Marie, who's going to be speaking about community over transactionality. And we've also got Dominique as well after Don Marie. So if you've got any questions, feel free to interact over the chat section, sorry, so that we can get your feedback. This is recorded as well. So everyone that's joined in today would get this for free, but those who haven't, joined in will have to pay. So yeah, awesome. Right, Dawn Marie, over to you.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so thank you, Laulu and Oyen, for inviting me here to speak to and share with your audience more about community over transaction as it relates to your marketing strategy, and how that can all tie into building a business that is recession-proof post-COVID-19. Now, I'm going to say that the people who actually prepare their marketing strategy during this time are the ones who are going to win post-COVID-19. And the reason I'm saying that is because you have to actually set yourself up in business strategically so you can benefit from once the lockdown has ended, you can benefit from the activities that consumers may have once the pandemic is over. Now, why community? Why community over transactions? Laulu did touch on this point before, and it's all about, we have entered a time where how we market in our business has ultimately changed. So before, there were, maybe 10 years ago, you were able to market in a way where you could pitch your products and sell your products and get sales because the market wasn't as saturated. But now we have so much noise in the marketplace that how do you actually stand out as a business? With all the noise that you hear, for example, if you think about going to the market yourself, you hear so many people calling you in whichever direction, saying that you can come here and buy this, you can come here and buy that. But as a business where there are other businesses like you, how are you going to stand out in the marketplace so that you can start building a community of people around you? And the reason why you want to focus on that strategy right now is because when you build community, you are essentially building trust and loyalty with an audience. Okay, so as small business owners, it's very important that you shift your mindset from always wanting to be transactional and pitching for the sale, and instead focus on community. It has to be a long-term strategy. So I'm going to share with you over the next 15 to 20 minutes. That's the amount of time I have been allotted, and I hope I can stay within that time frame. But I'm going to share with you some actionable steps that you can take, because I want to make sure that the content that I'm delivering, that you can take that content and actually implement that, go away after this training, implement that in your business so that you can start seeing results. So you prepare yourself for when this pandemic is over. So I want to give you a story about how I started in business, right? Now, I'm a digital marketer and a blogger. I've been a digital marketer since 2016 and teaching clients how different marketing strategies that they can use in their business. And when I got started as a digital marketer, I hired a mentor to teach me how to use different marketing tools like funnels, autoresponders, Facebook ads marketing in my business to grow my business. And one of the things that he said to me was, Dawn Marie, if you are getting started in this, to build an online hub. And he also said that in order to make sales in your business, you have to help and serve, right? And a lot of small businesses who may just be getting started, the way that they interpret help and serve is completely different to how you should do and how the big brands actually do it, right? This is how the big brands actually make a lot of money in their business and are able to maintain their competitive advantage over small businesses, because most small businesses are not following that strategy. So when he said to me that you should be helping and serving, I said to myself, okay, I am going to create a blog. So as I mentioned, I am a blogger as well. So I'm going to create a blog and deliver pure value without asking for anything in return. That was the way that I was going to set myself up to stand out from the noise, stand out from the noise in the marketplace of people who are shouting, buy my product, you know, buy my service. So by creating valuable content without asking for anything in return, I appear to stand out from the marketplace. And that's what small businesses should be doing right now, as people are more online, is finding out how are they able to provide more valuable content, how they are able to be more helpful, useful, and purposeful, so that they are strategically building that relationship with their audience. Okay, so when you think about different types of content that you can use in your business to start building that community, that audience of engaged people, think about ways that you can help them. Think about one specific problem that your audience has. Because if you're building an audience, I'm going to assume that you know the needs and desires of that audience. You know their frustrations, their pain points, and their problems. So think about one specific problem that they have, and how can you solve that problem through content? And it's that content that you are going to provide consistently, so that you start, it's almost as though you want to create a mindset shift in your audience's mind to see you as the go-to expert. You want to set yourself up during this time so that you can position yourself as an authority. And it's very important for small business owners to remove the always wanting to have that sale from that consumer. Yes, I know we are in business to make money. We are in business to make sales, but there is a way that you can take the user through a journey, which is your sales funnel, as Laulu pointed out. Take that user through a journey. So what you are doing is you are building that know, like, and trust factor. You want to bring them into your world so that they can get to know more about you. You become a familiar face. Your brand becomes a familiar name. They get to like you because of your content. You're putting out so much value that you have not asked for anything in return. And what that does, it allows them to trust you, right? True story. On my blog, I would create blog posts almost daily when I first got started. And I would be very intricate about the different strategies. So I have a blog where I create marketing strategies for other business owners. So anytime I implemented a strategy in my business, I would write a very detailed post about the strategy that I used to achieve a particular result. And the type of comments that I would get on my blog would be like, you are providing so much value that it should be paid for. You know, the type of content that you are providing, gurus charge for this type of content. Why are you putting it out there for free? Why don't you make it, you know, into something that's paid? But they didn't understand the strategy behind providing that content, that valuable content for free, right? Because I knew that by providing that valuable content upfront for free without asking for anything in return, it was ultimately building people started trusting me with the recommendations that I made. And they started bookmarking my blog, always coming back to consume the content that I provided. So they knew that every piece of content that I put out, there would be some type of actionable step for them to take. It would be helpful to them, right? So when it came time for me to produce for example, I capitalized on that and produced a digital product, right? When it came time for me to produce that digital product, I already built my audience. I already built that community. I already built that trust with them, that selling that product was so easy, right? I used no paid ads whatsoever, but I was able to sell that product easily because people already trusted me. And that's why it's so important for you guys to build that community of people so they can come to know you, like you, and trust you, so that when you are ready to put forth a product, you're ready to ask for the sale, that it makes the transaction effortless. It makes it a no-brainer that they would come to you because they already see you as the go-to expert, right? Just like what Laulu said, when you create that when you create tremendous value for people, and as soon as this pandemic is over, as soon as the recession is over, they know that if I want something, I already have someone who can answer my problem, because you have demonstrated that you are an expert, you know what you're speaking about, and they know that through the content that you have provided. Okay, so I'm going to share with you two people, because even though this has worked for me, I want to share with you this method that has been adopted by other of my marketing brands, right? So it's not just something that I have, it's not a strategy that I use in my business alone. I know that it works for other business owners as well. Okay, so for example, one of my good friends, Leon Angus, he's a YouTube specialist. So he is involved like in YouTube SEO, that type of thing. And he would create a lot of valuable content on his videos. And the type of comments that he would have would be, you're posting so much information, you're really helpful. This is information you should be charging for, right? But in the back of his mind as a marketer, he knows that that's what's going to keep people coming back to his YouTube channel, right? Because he's building that community of people, he's building that audience, and he wants to retain their viewership. He wants to retain their loyalty, right? So after a year of consistently providing that value, he's now creating a product to sell to that audience, because that audience knows him, right? They love him for the type of content that he has already provided, and they trust him because he has demonstrated that he knows what he's talking about. So I want you small business owners to start adopting that type of business essence in your own business, so that you can show up and stand out from your competitors. Because whilst everyone else is pitching, buy my product, buy my service, right? When you show up and you provide content without asking for anything in return, asking for money in return, people know that you are someone who knows what you're speaking about, and you become the authority. You want to be able to dominate your niche because you can show up as the go-to expert. So I want to provide you with 4 actionable steps that you can take in your business in order to implement this strategy, okay? And I hope that the action steps that I give to you, you would be able to take away and use in your own business, not once, not twice, but consistently, okay? So the first thing that you should do as a small business owner is you need to identify your target audience. That's the first thing. Who do you actually serve, right? Most small businesses don't really know who their niche market is. Who are the people that you serve and you can provide a solution to? You also have to know what their major problem and pain point is. And why is it so important to know what their major problem and pain point is? It's because that helps you to shape your message to them, right? This is how you create the formula for sales. That formula being value plus community equals sales. Right? So that's what I want you to remember as a small business owner. Value plus community equals sales. Okay, so when you know your audiences, your community's pain points and frustrations, you can then craft your message, your marketing message to them so that it resonates and relates to them. When it resonates and relates to them, they pay attention. This is the way that you are going to have that competitive advantage over your competitors. Don't focus on the sales just yet, right? Don't focus on the sales just yet. Focus on building a community first, right? So now that you know who your target audience is, be very specific about that target audience. So you don't want it to be broad. You want to be very specific, because when we try to serve many people, we end up serving no one. Okay, so for example, in the hair niche, right, you may serve a professional Black women who have natural hair. That's a very specific niche. It's very clear who you are serving. Or you may serve Black students who have natural hair, right? Or Black students who wear wigs or weaves or whatever it is. You want to be very specific because that's going to help you shape your marketing message to them. That's going to help you create the content so that you can put it out to them so they start resonating and relating to you, right? The next thing that you want to do is, once you've identified your target audience, you want to show up where they are, okay? So you may be a hair business owner. Where does your target audience hang out? Is that on TikTok? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? Because if that's where they hang out, you need to show up there too, right? That's obvious. You need to be where your target audience is so they can start seeing your content, right? When you start posting your content consistently, they will start seeing it and they will start following you and they will take notice of you to follow you. Okay, so that's also important, that you know where your target audience hangs out. If you don't know where they hang out, then you need to do a bit of research to find out which social media platforms they hang out. Maybe they may not hang out on Facebook or Instagram, but they do primarily Google search. So you know that you may have to build a website and then use search engine optimization to get found through keywords, right? So if you're not quite sure, then you need to do some research on where they hang out, okay? The next thing that you need to do is show up and provide that value, okay? That valuable content must be useful, must be helpful, must solve a specific problem that they have, right? Because then what's going to happen is, when you can show that you know how to solve a specific problem, they are going to keep you in mind. You want your business and your brand to always be top of mind. That's the purpose of consistently producing content. Your business will always be top of mind, okay? And I know you may say, but Dawn, I want to get sales. Okay, I understand that. Yes, you want to get sales, but here is the process that I would recommend if you want to sales, because there's nothing wrong in pitching for sales, but it's how you pitch for sales, right? You don't want to be outright and ask for a sale. What I suggest you do is value, 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 pitch for sale. Okay, because it must be a give and take relationship. It can't always be taken, right? Because consumers are getting smarter. There are so many other of your competitors in the marketplace. What makes you better than the others? What makes you stand out? How are you going to stand out? You're going to stand out by building that community, adding that value, right? So remember, we spoke about the formula: value plus community equals sales. That is how you are going to stand out as a small business owner, okay? And then lastly, the fourth action step is to convert. So through your valuable content, through your helpful content. So for example, in the hair niche, you may, one thing that is frustrating your consumers may be the fact that they don't know how to take care of their hair whilst the hair salons are closed, right? So what type of content can you produce to help them take care of their hair whilst they are at home, whilst the hair salons are closed, right? So when you do that, what's going to happen next is, once this whole thing goes over, once lockdown has ended, they know that this person has showed me how to take care of my hair. Let me check them out. That is going to be what's going on in their mind, believe it or not. Why? Because you are always top of mind. So that person, they're going to say, this person taught me that, I'm going to check them out. And that could potentially lead to sales. Okay, so that's a conversion point, right? That's where you can start asking for a sale. So value, 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 then pitch for a sale. Okay, and then obviously the last point is consistency. You have to be consistent. So this is not something that you can do over a few weeks. No, it takes time to build trust. Right? I've seen, like, so many of my prospects who I am interviewing to see whether I would like to onboard them as clients. They ask me, how long is this going to take? Right? They're not prepared for the long journey, because it is a long-term strategy. It's a long-term strategy because you want to start building that trust with people. And there is a lot of, because there are so many options available, people are very skeptical. Right? So when they see your brand for the first time, they're not saying, oh, I'm going to buy from them immediately. They're actually folding their arms and just looking at you, side eye, like, can I trust this person? So you have to build that trust with people, and that's going to take time to build that trust. Right? I see that I'm on the 24 minutes now. Do I have enough more time, Owen?
Yeah, you can finish off. Yeah.
Okay. So again, yes, consistency. This is my last point. Consistency is very important when it comes to, you know, making sure that you keep top of mind in your audience's mind. Okay, so as a small business owner, focus on how you can build that community first before you start pitching for the sale. Okay, and this is one of the things, you know, that I'm going to cover in more detail in my Facebook group, where we're going to talk about how to use Facebook properly for business, because I realize that there are a lot of small businesses who don't really know how to use Facebook for business by providing that valuable content upfront and nurturing their audience. They're not quite sure how to generate leads through nurturing and building a community. Okay, so if that resonates with you, I hope that is helpful. I have provided a free gift to those who are on this call, which is my free marketing blueprint. And essentially what that does, it breaks down 8 steps that you can take. So in order, 8 of those steps that you can take in order to grow your business. Nothing held back at all. Okay, so it's free there for you to take. It's a free marketing blueprint. I'll make sure to leave the link with Oyen so that you can download that free marketing blueprint if you want.
Thank you
Hope
so
that's
much.
helpful. You're welcome, Nisi.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for speaking. Round of applause to Dawn. Thank you so much. It's really been valuable, and I've actually gained a lot, even though you had some really almost simple concepts to share for everyone to relate to. In terms of the marketing blueprint, we will be sending that to all of the people that have registered, as well as people on here too. So thank you so much. Also, you know, if you want to speak to Dawn or have any questions, please be sure to put your questions into the chat box, so that we could actually get an understanding of any questions that you may have. Also, furthermore, please do make sure you invite your friends, or if you know a friend that has already registered, tell them to turn up, because actually there's some really good information that's been shared on here. You will be getting the recording as well as the slides for free. However, the people that have not been able to attend will have to pay. So thank you so much. Now I'm going to introduce to you Dominique. Dominique, this is how I feel about Dominique. Dominique is amazing. She owns a company called Hair Pop. Hair Pop is based in Birmingham, and they are an online marketplace for Black hair and beauty brands. So a lot of all the entrepreneurs that are listed on their site, I think about 80% of them are actually Birmingham-based beauty brand, which is amazing, hair and beauty brands. Dominique is a connector of people as well, so it's really great for her to be here. So she's going to be here sharing with us some really good gems of how she's managed to build the community that she's got, as well as how do we make sure that we remain resilient, because I think she's pushed through this. So Dominique, over to you. Dominique, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Sorry.
It would actually help to unmute the chat.
Sorry, what did you say? Let me unmute.
Sorry, I unmuted myself and then muted myself back again.
Okay.
So hello everybody, and I hope you're doing well and everyone is staying safe. I really enjoyed that presentation as well from both Lalu and Dawn Marie. Found it really really useful. So I did like a short presentation, which, can I share my screen, or have you got your, okay, you've got it disabled, don't worry. You're on mute, Oyen, but I think I heard you say, let me.
You should be able to share your screen now.
Yeah, I can. Can everyone see that? Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. So I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction about me. I mean, Oyen, you kind of already introduced what Hair Pop is. So it's an online marketplace, and we sell natural hair care products and accessories for afro and curly hair. And as you said, all of the suppliers on the platform are Black owned British businesses. And that was really important for us because we know how much value the UK Black hair and beauty industry is worth, and it's not representative enough of the people, of the consumers. So it's really important for us that we are able to get Black owned hair care brands in front of Black women in particular, who often don't know what to use in their hair, don't know where to go, especially during this time now that all of the traditional ways of buying hair care have closed. So all of the high street hair shops are now closed. So people are like, okay, what do I do with my hair during lockdown, and where can I get my hair care products from? So one of the advantages is that we were building a community online and offline. So whilst we're in this pandemic, it's been a lot of how do we put our offline practices online and still continue to create that community. Because when it comes to hair care for Black women, it's more than just about hair. The conversations can transpire from, do I look beautiful? Does my partner find me attractive? Is this hairstyle acceptable for the workplace? What do I do if someone, touches my hair? There's lots of different conversations. So it's really important that we are able to still reach out to our customers whilst we're in lockdown and post lockdown as well. So a little bit about the way the platform works is that customers can discover new natural hair care brands, and they can buy directly from us, and then the brands pay a subscription for being on the platform, and then we take a small commission for the sales. So the first point that I wanted to make, based on the topic today of creative ways of how you can bring your customers together, is firstly by offering extra value to people, because we're in a pandemic and everyone is uncertain about what's happening. And before we went into complete lockdown, one of the things we were doing was we were offering free personal delivery to people in Birmingham, because that's where we're based, and that worked really well. It was a case of asking people, do you need any hair care products? And then it enabled us to be able to find out questions that people had in the community, because it provides that one-on-one. Now we can use technology, which is great, it's fantastic in terms of being able to reach people, but that one-to-one interaction is also really important. And the advantage of being at home right now means that we've actually got a little bit more time to do that than if we were all having the extra time of traveling and going into an office and having lots of different face-to-face meetings. So it means that we can be a lot more personable, which is quite nice, because it means that we get to know our customers a lot more, and our customers and our community get to know us a little bit more as well. So offering that extra value is really important, so that customers know that we're human and that we're here for them and going the extra mile. And one of the advantages of being small as well is that we can do things like this, because if we're a much larger company, it would be really difficult to be able to say we're actually going to go out and hand deliver products and spend time talking to people sort of one-on-one. But at the moment we're able to build on that, and then naturally customers, once they buy into your brand, they become your brand ambassadors without you even realizing it. Because once you're offering extra value to them, then they start talking about your products, your service, your ethos to other people. So that's really important. And by offering extra value, you get to know your customers so much more, because often I think we're always looking for new customers and not really focusing on our existing customers and actually how we can provide more value to them. Because there's that 80-20 rule, when they say that you should please 20% of your customers 80% of the time. because that will make up a lot of your service. And that's really important, because as much as we want to be able to get numbers, we don't ever want to forget the people that were riding with us from the beginning, because they're the ones that are really important as well. And they're the ones that are going to tell other people about this particular product or service. So that leads me on to the next point, which is, especially in this time, so I'm relating this very specifically to the time that we're in now, and it's showing that you care. So developing the community online is really important. So one of the ways to show your customers that you care is to create interactive discussions online, and that allows you to reach a lot more people than you would normally if you were going to face-to-face meetings and going to face-to-face events, for example. But actually taking the time out to find out how your customers and how your community are feeling, not just making assumptions based on your own behavior. Because when we first went into lockdown, everyone was like, you know, if you don't come out of lockdown without a new skill, learn a new language, all of that, then you just wasted the time. And I'm not sure if it's the same for the rest of you, but you might have noticed that there's actually been quite a shift in the language. It's kind of, yes, if you want to learn something new, that's fine. But if you just want to be, that's also fine. If you just want to relax, that's also fine. Because I think we put so much pressure on what we should be doing, when often we don't realize that this is not a normal time. The government didn't just say to us, have 6 weeks, spend it at home and do what you want. You know, we're in a really anxious time when we don't really know what's going to happen. Lots of people are being affected by this pandemic in lots of different ways. So now is really the time to show your customers that you're actually human and that you actually care about them. So I would often reach out to people and ask them genuinely, how are you doing? How are you coping? What are your sort of coping mechanisms? You know, some people are quite accustomed to working from home. For other people, it's completely new. And just asking people, you know, what are your difficulties? And just really being present as well. So one of the things that I like to do is, especially now that I'm at home, is do a lot more exercise. So I started skipping, and I would post that on my personal page that I was doing skipping. And then a lot of other people started skipping and posting and saying, Dom, you've inspired me to start skipping. Or I haven't got a skipping rope, and I'll be like, just order one, and then we'll do virtual skipping. And it's just really interacting with people, because it doesn't matter how much technology there is, human interaction is over everything. You know, without humans, there is no technology to be made in the first place. To know how to create AI, you need to understand how humans work in the first place. So using this time to show that you care is really, really important. And the next point I would like to make is communication. So for people that were employed, there were two sides of the coin. There was one side where employers were really for their employees. So my sister works for a big company, and they shut down their offices way before the government was saying stay at home, like do not go out unless it's essential. And she said that for her, that really showed how much the company put the people first, and that was really important. Now, those employees are going to be so much more loyal to that customer than another example, someone that I know, their company didn't shut down until the day after Boris Johnson's announcement. So Boris Johnson made the announcement on the Monday that at about 8 o'clock that we're going into lockdown. They still had to go in on the Tuesday, and then it wasn't until the Wednesday that they actually started working from home. They were still going in normal time. There wasn't any provision for anyone to work at home. They weren't communicating very well with the staff, and it was causing a lot of animosity in the workplace. So, and that's a company that has been around for many, many years, but they were more focused on the business, not on the people that are running the business. So communication is really, really important right now in terms of building that community. So I think it's really important to listen to what your customers want, not just by making assumptions. For instance, you know, everyone was saying at the beginning, you know, get a new skill, start a business, learn a new language or 5 new languages. It's actually listening to people and seeing how they're feeling. And the best way to do that is by communicating, finding out what they want. And for us, one of the examples of how we did this is we decided to do tutorials on how people can style their hair during lockdown, because now we realize that we've got a load of Black women that are at home. To begin with, everyone's wearing head wraps to do their Zoom team meetings. And then it got to the point where people were like, okay, my hair needs some love, but I don't know what to do. You know, people that had braids would have taken their braids out, and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do. Others, they're just kind of relearning, using the time to relearn and reconnect with their hair care. So for us, doing tutorials is a way of communicating to people that actually we're here for you. We're here to be able to show you, we're adding value to our customers during that time. Customers can ask lots of questions, and then we can provide solutions. And then as a business, it's valuable because we now know what customers want, and we can communicate a lot more about their needs, but also we can turn that into content to help other customers that might not have been in that tutorial or might not have been on that live. And one of the ways that we do it is that we're spending a lot more time in groups. WhatsApp is fantastic for being in groups, for communicating with people, for adding value, answering questions, or just finding out what other people are doing and what other people are feeling. I'm in various different groups, from Coding Black Females to groups around meditation, groups around women empowerment, groups around direct to consumers, lots of different types of groups. And it's really good to have a variety and be able to communicate with people, because it also means that you get to understand what those other groups are feeling, what the other groups are doing to try and communicate with their customers. And I think also, based on communication, what's really important is reminding people that you exist. So for us, as an online hair shop, it was quite important for people to know that they now have an alternative to buy their hair care that they didn't necessarily think about before. Because traditionally, a lot of people are used to going to the high street hair shop to go and get their hair care. And when all the shops closed, a lot of people were kind of thinking, well, where do I get my hair care? Because I'm not used to buying online. And with our platform in particular, because the hair care brands are smaller, they're independent, they're Black owned, some people hadn't heard of the brand, or some people had heard of the brand but were still yet to try them. So this was a really important time, by using things like tutorials, live demonstrations, to show people how to use the products, when to use the products, and answer any questions that people may have. So communication is really important, even just down to delivery, letting people know that the post offices, the delivery companies, they're still running. We can still get your items to you. And also communicating any delays as well. So my sister ordered something from a company, and she said that 2 weeks later she was still waiting for her item, and then that was when she got an email to say it had been dispatched. And I asked her, like, had there been any communication before, and she said no. And naturally, a lot of the customers really expect there to be delays. You know, some people will say to me, oh, how long is it going to be? And I'll say, at first, there wasn't that much delays, to be honest. It was pretty, like, the postal service was fantastic. And then they started to be a few days delay. But I just communicated with that with people, because people naturally would expect that postal services are inundated. Lots of people are having to move their businesses from face-to-face to online, or the post offices are just inundated because the banks are closed, so people can get their money from the post office, for example. So communication is really important, and not even just focusing all on your business and selling, but for instance, every once in a while I'll post a meme about working from home, for example, what you look like when you go to the office versus what you look like on your Zoom call or at home. And that gets a lot of interaction because everybody is in this current time together. You know, this is worldwide. Everyone kind of understands what everyone's going through. Everyone might be experiencing it in slightly different ways, but it's not a thing that we can actually run away from. So I think it's really important to continue to communicate. And even as the language and people's feelings shift from we must be productive 24 hours, we're at home, we have all this time, when in actual fact, we do have all this time, but we're also going through a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of parents that, for instance, there's some parents, mums, that are working full time, they have their business on the side, and they're now homeschooling their children. Now, it must be so difficult for them trying to work at home whilst also making their child is getting their education, whilst also making sure that their business is running on the side. So yes, in effect, we have more time, but do we really? It means lots of different things for lots of different people. We still need to cook, we still need to clean, we still need to go out for our 1 hour exercise, and we also still need to be vigilant about what is actually happening around us as well. So my last point is around staying current. So I think it's really important that we don't ignore the current climate. It's very, very, very real. No matter where you are, it's not a sort of thing that you can ignore. And we're actually living in a very historical time. And I think one thing that's important is that we make sure that we are also focusing on how we're facing the new normal. That's really important also, because going forward, you know, people often talk about when we're allowed out, what we're going to do, but I don't think people realize that it's not actually going to be the same. It's going to be completely different. We're going to go through a completely different shift in the way we do things. As I said, for those companies, for people that are employed, that didn't treat their staff well by giving people the option to work from home, for example, because it can cause a lot of anxiety. If you have to go on public transport, and which increases the chances that you could be getting something like COVID or just germs in general, just being claustrophobic because of what we're going through. How is that going to make you feel, knowing that you have to go on public transport to go to a job, and you don't know if your job's still going to exist because you don't know how the economy is going to react to what is happening. So I think it's really important to focus on what happens post the pandemic. And I would really repeat all of the 4 things that I just said in terms of offering value, showing that you care, communicating, and staying current. Because once we come out of the lockdown period, the quarantine period, all these things are going to be really, really important. We can't just ignore it and forget it and move on. We need to make sure that we're still talking about this, we're still seeing how people feel. And that's the best way to help build a community, by doing the same things that we're doing now, even when we come out of lockdown. Because these are the customers that are riding with us at the moment are going to be the ones that want to continue, because then they're going to know the value that we were adding. And hopefully those customers end up spreading those messages to their families and friends. And whilst we're at home, we really need to be using that time to connect with people in a way that we're not always accessible. You know, when you're running a business, time is money and time is of the essence. Sometimes you feel like you don't have any time at all. But even whilst we have all of this extra time, it's also, we also use a lot of it to communicate with people, and it's really important that we do communicate with people, but take advantage of it in a really positive way, so that people know that when we come out of it, we're still there, we're still human beings, and that we actually really care, and so that we're able to offer that value even post COVID. So I know, Lala, you mentioned Gymshark, and one of the campaigns that I saw around NHS, do exercise, and then they'll donate £5 towards, I think it was a Midlands NHS company, organisation, I should say, and that is,
Hospital.
that is a really good way for a really big business to show that they care and do it really localized. So anyone that's from Birmingham can tell that the people in that campaign are from Birmingham as well. It wasn't just a thing that they were just doing it to see how much clout they could get. It felt really local. If you're familiar with Birmingham, you could see where it was filmed and things like that. So that's really important, and that's one thing that Gymshark does do really well, is that it creates that community. And that's one of the things that we want to do, because in the Black community are being affected by COVID-19 in such a different way than other communities. We only make up 3% of the population in the UK, yet I think the statistics were recently that where Black people are 35 times, or may make up 35% of cases that are dying from this. So it just goes to show how disproportionate we are, even when it comes to healthcare. And as a small group, we need to be looking at how is our community treated. How are the NHS staff being treated? We're hearing lots of news reports about how much of the NHS, not even just in the UK but across the world, don't have adequate PPE. How does that make those doctors and nurses, those key workers, really feel when they are on the front line fighting for us, and the least people who are supposed to be creating policies could do is make sure that they're adequately protected? It's going to have a shift on people's morale, and show, as an employer, as a government, as corporate sort of employers, whether people really do care, or is it just about money and control. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that gives a lot of value in terms of what to do during COVID, and also post COVID. I think a lot of the things for us in particular at Hair Pop, we're about building the community. Yes, we do want to sell shampoos and conditioners and accessories, but we also want to make sure that our customers and our community are okay, and if they're not okay, that we're human enough to actually be there for them, and make sure that they're staying safe, and if they've got any anxieties, that we're creating a community where we can actually have discussions. So on Sunday, for example, we're doing an online event where we're talking about horrible hair stories. Now, that has nothing to do with selling anything, but it's about bringing people together online. We're telling everyone to just bring a drink and share stories that other Black women are going to be able to relate to. And that's a really good way of bringing people together. So it's really good to be innovative and listen to what people want, and share as much, and kind of take people's minds away from the anxiety, but not actually ignore that we're in this current time.
Thank you so much, Dom. It's been
Very welcome.
Really good. Every time I hear you speak, you just kind of ooze people, which is really good, and it's really important to have that balance. Thank you so much. Thank you to Dawn Marie for giving us the marketing techniques and the strategies, and thank you to Dom for actually telling us that people matter. I think for me, as I was listening to you, I was just thinking about how much more can I connect with our customers, how much more can we connect with our target market, and how can we do that better? And also, I can't help but think about, I don't know if you guys have seen the Zoom suit. the meme of the Zoom suit. So before people go on Zoom, they remove their clothes and they put on a Zoom suit, like a detachable. So I found that quite funny. So thank you so much, Dom. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you do have any questions. These people are only going to be here for the next 10 minutes, so please maximize this time.
So I've got a question for both of you, Oyin and Alu. What else have you got planned? Because we know that you've got this fantastic series over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
How is that helping you to kind of add value to your customers?
So first of all, we care about like people being equipped, right? Generally and being prepared. We've got the series planned over the next 2 weeks. So it actually ends next week. And essentially what we want to do is that we want to give people the right tools, to be able to stay prepared and also to be aware about what's going on and being able to apply that to their businesses. Aside from that, we also have a boot camp coming up, a tech boot camp coming up, which is really, really exciting, in collaboration with Coding Black Females, for Black women in the Midlands who are unemployed or employed in low school employment. And actually at the end of it, the Coding boot camp, they will become software developers, as well as they'll earn over 30K a year, guaranteed. On top of that, we're also building our platform still, our tech solution for our customers, and we're going to be launching like the next MVP of that in June. So we're working really hard on that to kind of add value again to our customers, because we know that people's behaviors are it's not even just about COVID, but also we just want to be able to make the process of getting your hair done a lot simpler. Because as we know, if you're thinking of changing your hairstyle, you know that it can take a while for you to make that decision. And we want to be able to we want to be able to simplify that. So this MVP is a step towards that. So that's kind of like majorly what we're doing. We're also recruiting more stylists, which we're obviously going to talk more about, Dominique, and how we can work with hair pop in that area. But yeah, that's where we're at.
That sounds really exciting. It's really nice to see how the platform and the organization is growing.
Yeah, thank you so much. So same as you as well. It's been really good to see how everything is just kind of coming together, and it's just beautiful.
Thank you.
It's also good to see people that you don't like work with on a day-to-day basis, like outside of your job. Just see people.
All right, awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I've got a question. Oh, sorry, did someone say something?
No.
Okay, I've got a question for Dawn. So Dawn, you spoke about service, and I actually believe that generally as human beings, that should be our prime thing to do, to just serve our world. That's what we should all kind of do. However, as black people, a lot of the things that we have challenges with is finance. If we're being real and honest, that's one of our major challenges. So we might want to serve, we might genuinely want to serve, but it might become very difficult to put food on the table. So how would you advise for a small business owner who genuinely wants to serve, but also needs to make that sale to pay their bill, and also really needs to make that sale to put food on the table? Because even post-recession and post-COVID, that's going to become even a more real thing.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that I typically do, even though I spoke about providing as much value as you can without thinking about the transaction, there are other strategies that you may want to implement. So remember when I spoke about the value, then pitch, okay? One way that you can incorporate a short-term strategy in your business, but I want to make sure that you understand that it's very important to break down people's barriers, because when they get to know, or when they come into contact with a new brand, one should not expect an immediate sale. Okay, it's just you need to know your price cycle, and it's just really the psychology of our consumers, how they think when they are introduced to a new brand. But if it is that you prefer a more short-term strategy, there's nothing wrong with providing value still in, maybe you have like an interaction with the audience, but then including a small call to action at the end of that valuable piece of content. Okay, so for example, if your audience is on Instagram or Facebook and you consistently provide that content on those platforms, there's nothing wrong with you within that post, within that specific post where you're targeting your audience, that you're providing some type of valuable content and then including a small call to action after, because that way you're still able to demonstrate that you know what you're speaking about, you are the authority, you are the expert. Okay. Another way that you can do that is, for example, as Lau mentioned in the beginning, when we speak about lead nurturing and lead generation, is you can also create a funnel strategy where you provide something that is free, like, and it must be an absolutely high valuable piece of content that you can provide for free. So for example, maybe in the hair care industry, that may be a PDF on how to take care of your hair, or a 3-part series on how you can take care of your hair. And you are bringing them into your world, which probably leads them onto an email marketing platform. You know that when you exchange someone's contact details, such as an email, they become more of a valuable person in your business. So you think about the lifetime value of your subscriber. They have trusted you to exchange that piece of information with you, because not many people exchange name and email at this time. So it must be some type of content that you can exchange with them so that you receive that name and email. And then you continue that process within your emails, where you continue to provide value, but there is still some type of call to action at the bottom of that piece of content, or maybe after a 3-part video series where you can ask them to conclude in a sale with you. So there are short-term strategies, but I want to be abundantly clear that it's all about breaking down the walls of your consumer, someone who just comes into contact with you, and knowing how to speak specifically to their pain points and their problems, and show that you have the solution to that problem. Because if you can speak in a way where you can show to them that you know what their problems are, they're going to automatically assume that you have the solution to that problem. And if they make that assumption that you have the solution to that problem, they are going to keep you on their radar.
Thank
so
you
I hope
so
that's
much.
helpful.
That was really helpful. Thank you. Hopefully you guys got something from that. And before we finish, because I know we're like 2 minutes over time, I just wanted to remind you guys, okay. I just wanted to remind you guys about the series. So essentially, this series is over 2 weeks, and the next session will be on the 27th of April. So that's Monday coming, and we're going to be having Andy Iam, who's an investor as well as a product management expert, as well as Lulu Pierre, the founder of Boho Locks. Andy Iam is going to be talking about business models. He's also going to be talking about being relevant in terms of like how your business can be relevant, and also how can you get investment at during this time, whilst Lulu Pierre will be talking about supply chain, because she has to communicate with manufacturing and stuff, and also just sharing her story generally. So be sure to be there. Also please tell your friends. For the 49 people that have signed up to this and have not turned up, we are going to be emailing them so that they're present as well. So yeah, on the 30th is the last day. So that's next week, Thursday. We're going to be having Daniela Ginas speak about strategy and risk planning, as well as someone called Lauren LeFranc, who's going to be giving us some legal advice, as well as talking about supply chain, dealing with countries like Jamaica during this time. So thank you so much for coming. We've got a poll, and I just want to quickly get everybody's feedback so we know how we can improve. So please vote on the poll. It should be live now, for how you found this session.
I'm not sure if my entries are going through. I'm hoping they are.
It says hosts and panelists can't vote. Is that right?
Ian, you're on mute.
So let me just make you guys. So guys, if you just vote about how you found the session, I'm gonna stop sharing and let me relaunch it again.
Did you see the vote that I just did? Did it come through? You're on mute again, Ian.
I keep forgetting. 3 out of 5 people have voted. So I'm still waiting for 2 people. Lauli, if you could vote, please. I don't know who else hasn't voted. Thank you. Thank you so much. One more person.
Very welcome. Thank you for hosting it. It's a really good idea, actually,
No
to
problem.
create a series like this. So well done.
Thank
As
you.
always, to the team.
Thank you.
Putting in hard work. I hope you're both going to celebrate.
Yes, yes, it's gonna be. We are going to celebrate
Good.
after lockdown. But yeah.
Even during lockdown, you still have to celebrate, even if it's a piece of chocolate. I just had a bit of Easter egg.
You know, I didn't buy myself an Easter egg, you know. Maybe I'll buy some chocolate.
Yeah.
I actually forgot it was Easter. When is Easter? I forgot.
It's gone already. It was
Right, I forgot.
Oh man. All right.
I've just been looking at the news about COVID and that's it.
It's kind of gone over everything else that's been going on. Today's St. George's Day as well. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is. It is St. George's Day. But yeah, thank you so much everybody for joining. I really appreciate your time. And hopefully I'll see you guys on Monday. All right. Bye everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.